All right, so I've got some news here. This article came out today, April 4th, 2023, just after noon Eastern Time. Came out exactly at 12:16 p.m. Eastern Time. So, a couple hours ago. Title of the article, you're going to love this. U.S., as in the United States of America, U.S. pledges another $2.6 billion. $2.6 billion in weapons aid to Kyiv. Kiev? Kyiv. K-Y-I-V. Whatever, let's see, how do you pronounce Kyiv? How to pronounce... This is how you do it, everybody. If you're unsure, you look it up. How do you pronounce Kyiv? The capital of Ukraine. Blah, 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 blah. Long article. Kyiv, not Kiev. Okay, Kyiv. So I was saying it right. Back to the article. U.S. pledges another $2.6 billion in weapons aid to Kyiv. We are funding a war. The United States is investing in and funding a war that we have nothing to do with. We have sent them so many billions of dollars. It is unbelievable. Tanks and aircraft and weapons. It's unbelievable. Okay, here's the article. This is coming from Reuters. Reuters? I don't know how to pronounce anything. Washington, April 4th, Reuters. The U.S. unveiled $2.6 billion worth of military assistance that includes 3 air surveillance radars, anti-tank rockets, and fuel trucks, the Pentagon announced on Tuesday as Ukraine prepares to mount a spring offensive against Russia's invasion. Quote, we do expect the Ukrainians to put forward or begin some sort of their own spring offensive in the weeks ahead. Ambassador, end quote, Ambassador Julian Smith, the U.S. permanent representative of NATO, said on Monday. Wonderful. That quote was so informative. Moving on. Today's U.S. weapons aid package was comprised of $2.1 billion from Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, the USAI. Funding, which allows $2.1 billion from Ukraine, blah, 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 funding, which allows President Joe Biden's administration to buy weapons from industry rather than from U.S. weapons stock. Great. So let's give more of our money to, instead of from the U.S. weapons stock, let's spend money and then use that spent money on weapons and give them away. Meanwhile, Americans, screw you, America. The USAI, again, that's Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, the USAI package included additional munitions for NASAMS air defenses that the U.S. and allies have given to Kyiv, precision aerial munitions, Soviet-era GRAD rockets, anti-tank rockets, armored bridging systems used in assaults, and 105 fuel trailers, along with funding for training and maintenance. We are investing in a war against Russia. We are giving them money, weapons, training. What is going on? Back in the day, the Republican Party, they were known as kind of the warmongers, right? They love war. George W. Bush. Attack the Middle East. Invade. Today, the Democrats are the warmongers. They love war. Really, the truth is, it just goes back and forth. I think it probably just depends on whoever's in office. I think politicians love war. I think they profit from it. I think, there must be some... Why are we doing this? Why do we care about Ukraine? Why does anyone care? Let Russia wipe them out. Who cares? I don't care about Ukraine. I have nothing to do with them. You probably don't either. Sure, there may be some crazy reason, but I've not heard it. Someone out there might be making an argument for it, but I've not heard from the White House a legitimate reason. I don't know why Biden's doing it. I don't know why any of these people are doing this. America has enough problems. We have enough problems. All right, let's get back to this. I already went on a rant on the long episode I posted. I'm not going to go on a big long rant again. The remaining $500 million came from Presidential Drawdown Authority funds, which allows the president to take from current U.S. stocks in an emergency. Whose emergency? Whose emergency? Those funds are for emergency use, right? For other people in the world? For other nations? That segment of the aid package included a half a dozen types of munitions, including munitions for Patriot air defense systems, tank munitions, and high-mobility artillery rocket systems. Last month, Leopard 2 battle tanks pledged by Germany and Portugal reached Ukraine. Okay, cool. So at least other nations are investing in this war for reasons. The package announced Tuesday includes 61 heavy fuel tankers and recovery vehicles to help disable heavy equipment like tanks. Great. Oh boy. Get ready. Buckle your seatbelt. Are you sitting down? Pull over on the side of the road. This is going to hit. This is going to hit real hard. The U.S. has now pledged more than, wait for it, this is wait for it. The U.S. since February 24th, 2022, the U.S. has now pledged more than $35.2 billion. $35.2 billion worth of security assistance to Ukraine since February 24, 2022. $35 billion. $35 billion to Ukraine. There are Americans who are homeless in the streets of LA and all over America. There are places with homeless, but homeless people. There are families on welfare getting government assistance checks, going nowhere. There are jobs that don't pay enough. There are school systems that teachers are underpaid, or they don't have the resources. There's everything in America is falling apart. The inflation, the cost. I had a friend was texting me this morning about the price for eggs in LA. Gas prices. Everyone is hurting. Look at Disney, Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon. All these companies are going through massive layoffs, firing thousands and thousands of people, consolidating because they're getting hit. They're hurting. But what about the underprivileged neighborhoods? Black neighborhoods, whatever, poor neighborhoods. What about all the people that could use some help in America? And Joe Biden is investing in a war, a foreign war that has nothing to do with us, and has now sent them $35 billion. I honestly, if someone had asked me how much have we sent to Ukraine, I would have guessed like I don't know, maybe up to 6 billion at this point, because I remember one, it was like 4 point something billion, and then I figured there may be a few extra billion after that. We're up to $35 billion we've invested in Ukraine. We are arming Ukraine for war against Russia so that there can be this epic war between these two. Why? Let them annihilate each other. Who cares? It's not our problem. It has nothing to do with us. Yeah, I get it. You can't just let big major players on the world go around, invading other nations. Fine. But we can't afford it. We can't afford this. We can't afford that kind of money. We need to get our own situation set up first. I've used this analogy before. If you're paying rent month to month, so the money you make that month, you're building it up so that at the end of that month you have enough money to pay your rent. You're not getting ahead. You're behind. Every month is a catch-up game. If you're in that situation, you don't go buy an Xbox and a new TV. Like, you're pinching pennies. Our nation, we keep having these government shutdowns. We keep having to borrow or print more money. Our government does. Which lowers the value of the dollar, messes up our economy, messes up our lives. They are so, like, our national debt is so insane, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Everything here keeps getting worse. And here's $35.2 billion that we could have put to use here. If that kind of money's floating around, why aren't we seeing it? I mean, isn't it our money, our taxes, the money we pay the government with our taxes, so that we can have a government to take care of our problems, manage our problems, fix things when they go wrong, kind of stabilize our nation? Isn't that our money? And it's all going... Look, here's my prediction. Just like with most terrorist groups in the Middle East, if you go back 10 years, usually we funded them. We gave them the weapons they have today. We gave them all this stuff, all this, we invested in them. And then a decade later, now they're attacking us and there's terrorist attacks. I'm predicting the same thing. Whatever the result of this, if Ukraine wins, they are going to have a lot of power, a lot of weapons. And we don't know how they're going to use it. We don't know if Ukraine's going to be responsible with all this stuff. And if Ukraine loses, Russia picks it all up. And then it belongs to Russia. This type of investment, all these weapons and tanks and stuff, we're building an army somewhere else in the world. It's not ours. It's not our nation. They're not our allies. We have no connection with them. Who cares? Let Ukraine fall. Fuck them.